Pardon the interruption, I'm Amy Poppinga. Today, June 6th, marks the 32nd anniversary of the game Tetris. Next year, we learned they're going to be making a Hollywood film about the game Tetris. Sam, what do you think? Sound like a good idea to you?
Sounds better than Batman versus Superman. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. I'm Sam Mulberry. Amy, we are back this is our fourth year teaching CWC online.
It's
pretty exciting. We should probably talk a little bit about what CWC is.
We should. It's one of my favorite things to talk about.
It is. So CWC is Christianity and Western culture. So it's one of the cornerstones of the Bethel Gen Ed curriculum. What are some of the things we talk about in CWC?
So in CWC, we're looking at the history of Christianity. But we're not just starting in 1 AD. We're not just starting, kind of what we sort of, I think maybe you might off the top of your head think of as Christian history. We need to go back, right? So historians like to take a look back. We need to look at what are the circumstances, what was happening in the culture and in the geographic region where Christianity is going to emerge, so that we can better understand why then, why there.
Yeah, so the first part of the first unit, Christ isn't even alive yet, right? So we don't even have Christianity.
Yeah.
And I really think, what I think is interesting about the class is that it's not just church history. I think that would be one way to do this, but I think that word "and" Christianity and Western culture is a really significant part of this, because we're looking at that interaction and how Christianity is shaped by Western culture, how it shapes Western culture, how there are sometimes tensions between those things. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between those. So I think that sort of notion of culture is a pretty important thing.
Absolutely, and I think that a question students will have is, well, why do we have this course at all? And if you're getting a degree at an American university, it's not that unusual to have, as part of that Gen Ed curriculum, be a course on the development of Western civilization. So what we've done, because we are at Bethel and because we think the understanding of Christian history is an important part of a student's experience, we've kind of combined the two because of how we can better understand the history of Christianity by looking at how it's developed within Western culture. So sort of where are the tensions, where have they influenced one another, and it really gives you a better sense of where you sort of are today, which is probably one of the most interesting parts of the course, is to say, well, how do these things still play out for us today, and to get us to better sort of be thinking about the fact that our own faith is being shaped by the culture that we live in right now.
Yeah, and I think one of the ways that we go about that is we're going to be reading a lot of primary sources, so a lot of Christians from different time periods. So one of the things to prepare for as you're going through this course is the fact that these Christians that we're going to look at, Christianity is not a monolith. It never has been. It never will be. That we're going to see debates within Christianity. We're going to see disagreements within people who are part of the Christian tradition, and I think that's actually, we can be troubled by that or we can be excited by that, and I think I find that really exciting.
And I think what it also shows us is that there's going to be some things that you're going to read, or some of the things we're going to study are going to feel completely foreign, and it's going to be hard to wrap your brain around the fact that people ever thought this way or people ever lived this way. And yet then at the same time, you're going to read things that you're really going to resonate with, and you're going to feel like these were written recently, or that they're actually speaking sort of directly to the context that we find ourselves in right now.
So we've both been teaching this course for a very long time. Yes. Mm-hmm. But this is only the fourth time that this course has been taught online.
Yeah.
So why teach CWC online?
Well, I think that CWC, certain courses actually really lend themselves to being taught online if you're going about it in a creative and sort of a way that makes the course feel alive each week. So one of the ways that we've designed the class is that it is interactive. You will be hearing from us frequently through this form of a webisode, which we'll talk more about in a minute, but it's convenient, so you aren't spending a regular semester taking CWC. If you're a transfer student, CWC is a course that is required, or we have a Western Civ requirement of all students at Bethel, so there's a couple of options of what you can do, but this allows for students to maybe fit it better into their schedule so that they can be doing different things in the regular semester. So that's one of the reasons. So we do condense it, but it is it's convenient, it's interesting. We do still try to build community. So I think we actually take a lot of what's the best of the course during the semester and kind of give it to you in a vacation friendly format during the summer.
And one of the things that I'm actually really excited about, before we started filming, we were going through the class list, the students who are taking CWC this semester, and I think there's 4 or 5 students who this is their first thing they're doing at Bethel.
Yeah.
So before they come in the fall, they're taking this course. So I actually think it provides a pretty nice introduction to what Bethel looks like, to what the Bethel Gen Ed curriculum looks like. This course is really going to set up future courses you're going to have, both in terms of it's a prereq for courses you need to take, but also things we're going to talk about in this class are going to come back. So for those of you who are in that situation, I think this is going to be a really nice introduction that way.
Absolutely. And I think CWC itself actually has sort of become a part of Bethel culture. So you will feel like you fit in better when you just use phrases like, man, I was up late last night studying for that CWC exam, or did you read that reading on Erasmus? That was amazing. So it also will help you blend and fit in with your peers.
That's right. Amy, there's lots of ways you could teach a course online.
I can think of millions.
That's right. Why are we doing these webisodes?
Well, I think that the webisodes were designed, it's my understanding that they were designed by you, Sam Mulberry, and Chris Gehrz, who you'll be meeting in just a little bit here. But the webisodes were designed so that you do realize that this course is happening in real time, that each of your, whoever your small group leader happens to be, will be interacting with you throughout the week. But the webisodes are meant to keep current with what you're talking about. So we'll be doing some components of the class where we're hearing from you through the form of discussion and you're talking to one another. And we want to be able to sort of each week check in and say, what did so-and-so say that was interesting? What kind of questions emerged? They're also a great way to be able to review content in a way that's useful to you. And it's kind of based on other ways that we've reviewed content in the regular class structure during the semester. It's to be able to kind of connect what we're studying with what's happening in pop culture, as you'll see that the webisodes very much kind of integrate pop culture. They're kind of a blend of, there's aspects of them that are serious. We do mean for them to be something that you learn from, that is useful to you, that is helpful to you, but it's also something that is just kind of fun and gives us a little bit of a break from the other types of learning that we're doing.
Yeah, I think so. We first taught this course in the summer of 2013, and traditionally when CWC is taught during the semester, you would be part of a small group, and that small group would meet each week. So as we were putting the course together, we tried to think about how do you replicate some of those things that happen in small groups. So another thing that's going to happen on these webisodes, and this is the biggest thing I can encourage you to do, is this is a chance for you to ask questions. So you'll see when the webisodes are coming up, we'll always do a couple days where we're either doing an online museum, which we'll talk more about, or watching a film, or doing readings. But these will come up periodically every couple days, and this is your chance to ask questions to us so we can interact with your questions, with your comments. And I think that's actually a really helpful thing to tap into. So this is also the moment to review content. So sometimes we'll be diving into readings on here because some of these primary source readings are difficult.
Yep.
So we'll spend that time doing that as well. So a big thing I would encourage you to do is make use of this opportunity. Make use of this opportunity to email us with questions. When we pose questions to you, email us back. We'll use discussion boards for this as well. But we're going to try to connect back to those pieces as we're doing these webisodes.
Nope, that's exactly right. So watch them and utilize them. They're there to talking about help. Sam, what do you think students need to be thinking about as they start in an online course? What kind of advice can we give?
I think the big thing, and this is true for any class that you're in, but the big thing is managing your time well. That's going to be really key for this, because you're going to have assignments almost every day. So the key is thinking about when are you going to be able to do those in the day. Make sure you're giving yourself enough time. So when we do our online interactive museums, those aren't going to be the kind of thing you can just zip through in 10 minutes and do well on that. Now, one of the other pieces of advice in terms of thinking about that is that the exams that we take in this course are, because it's an online course, they're going to be open book and open notes. So it's really easy to go through the museums or the films and say, I'm just going to grab the stuff I need to fill out the assignments. And that you can do well in the assignments that way, but when you get to the test, that's going to become difficult because the test is going to be asking you to be more expansive with that. So paying attention to the study guide is very important.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I would say is that you want to recognize that there's a difference between just gathering information and studying. And we do expect that you're studying. And so as I have participated in this course before as an instructor, that's definitely something that I'll see, is that you can kind of tell by looking at the exams sort of who is studying, who is prepared, and who is just sort of sitting down with their materials at exam time and trying to access the information that they needed based on the questions that they were seeing. We want you to be confident with every type of assessment that you're doing in this class, and we feel like we give you all the tools and resources to do so, but the time piece is key. And another thing that I would say is that even though we want this to be flexible, it's summer and we do know that people are going to be traveling, or each one of your instructors is going to be traveling during the time, but you want to make sure that you're aware that you have sort of daily things that are going on. It's really not possible to sort of sit out for a week or to say, well, I'm not going to have access to my materials or to the internet for multiple days. You need to be aware of due dates, and we do hold you accountable to those due dates. You can't work way in advance. You also can't catch up if you get far behind. So you really want to make sure that you are being diligent with your time. And Sam, what do you think in terms about, you kind of have to be a self-starter and you have to sort of self-regulate?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would try to build structure for yourself. So as I think about teaching this course, I have to build that kind of structure. So I will say, okay, at this time of day, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to grade my assignments, and I try to build that structure. And I would say the same thing, especially if you're working with your work schedule as well. This is not the kind of thing to push off. Like say, okay, well, I'm going to, plan out that time and give yourself ample time to do that.
Yes, definitely. So when you know that something is due, don't just sort of make the assumption that you're only going to need 20 minutes to finish it before the time that it's due. Yeah, absolutely.
So we talked about what some of the assignments are going to look like in this course. One of them is that when we do these webisodes, we are going to push a question out to the discussion boards on Moodle. So what we want you to do for this first set of questions, the first question we want you to talk about is write us a little bit introducing yourself.
Who are you?
Yeah. It's been interesting teaching this course over the years, people with different educational backgrounds, different majors, people who are taking this course in lots of different places.
Yes.
So we've had people on the other side of the earth.
Yep, that's right.
So So we want to know a little bit about you, and we really want you to also be reading about the other people taking this class. I mean, that's one of the things that gets lost in the online version of this course.
True.
I think.
Yeah, and you are in a small group, and so there's not going to be that many other students. So we do want people to have an awareness of who else is in their group, and then obviously the ultimate objective, the ultimate win would be that come fall, when you're here on campus together, you might run into each other and you might remember each other from your experience online in the summer.
Mm-hmm. And then the second question I want you to talk about has to do with sort of why you're taking this course online, your expectations for this course. And I mean, that's also a place where you can put in, if you have questions about what is this course going to look like online.
Perfect place for the questions, and to sort of, as you said, if there are things you're concerned about, this is the time right there from the beginning to let us know and to try to communicate that with us. And sometimes you ask a question that everybody has that same question, and it's great because then we can sort of give a response so that everybody can benefit from your same question.
Right, and I think it's helpful for us to know sort of, you chose to take this course in the summer in this format. Why it is that you want to do that.
Absolutely. So we're excited.
Right, welcome to segment 2 of Pardon the Interruption. I'm Chris Gehrz. I'm the other instructor in online CWC this summer. We're all history professors, by the way, I should mention.
Yeah. There are other professors at Bethel, we think. We've heard.
We don't see them much in the summer. So as far as we know, we're the only ones. In the second segment, we dive a little bit deeper into course content, and we're kind of doing a preview here. So you'll come back to a lot of what we talk about as the course goes on. But we try to do it in hopefully an accessible and mildly, at least, entertaining way. We'll be playing games in the second segment. This game, I don't know if we'll repeat it again, but we're going to play Heads on Sticks. So how is this going to work, Amy?
So what we are going to do is that when we won't have this particular segment every week, but when we do have this segment, we will be playing the roles, I guess, really.
Tapping into our substantial training as actors.
Indeed.
I believe you
yes.
can Juilliard.
I'm a trained thespian. And so we will be playing the role of important people, both in current culture as well as perhaps historically from the course, to give our opinions on particular issues or people related to the course content.
Indeed. So you're going to meet 5 of these people today. These are all contemporary figures, but they're going to be talking about history. So one of the themes that's really important to us in CWC, whether it's online, hybrid, or face-to-face, is the biblical idea of the great cloud of witnesses. This comes from Hebrews 12, verse 1, which you've had chapter 11 is all these great men and women of faith in the Old Testament. And then it goes on to say, since we're surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us run this race towards Christ. And one of the ideas we introduced in CWC is that we are adding to this cloud of witnesses, right? So as you hear these stories of Christians interacting with Western culture, as you read these readings, you're going to be encountering witnesses, people who in different ways will challenge you or encourage you, inspire you, convict you, upset you, but in their own ways they're going to witness to Christ and maybe help you run that race. And so we thought we would ask 5 people who is in their great
cloud of witnesses.
Witnesses from CWC.
Yes.
So Amy, who am I?
Oh, well, hello, Donald Trump, candidate for President of the United States. It's been a long time since we've met.
Indeed. I can't remember, but I'm sure it was great the last time we met. Can I just say what an honor it is to be part of CWC? It's a class act, CWC. It has stood the test of time. It's got that brand name, like the Trump name. People know that it stands for quality operations. So I'm just thrilled to be here. So what's the question again?
So, Donald Trump, who would be in your cloud of witnesses?
Who is in my cloud of witnesses? This is from 2 Corinthians.
And besides yourself.
Oh, besides myself. Okay, I have to think a little bit more about this. I'm going to talk about a great figure from Christian history, and that is the Emperor Constantine.
Oh.
So Constantine, I believe, is an emperor who legalizes Christianity in the year 313. I'm really drawn to him because, if I can just tell it like it is here, Christianity before Constantine was kind of religion for losers.
Oh,
right?
Wow. Yeah, I would say that.
All they do is they get
weak.
persecuted, they're thrown in jail, they're not rich, they have no political power, no influence. And Constantine comes along, he changes all of that, Amy. And he makes it powerful. He makes it possible to be a powerful Christian, to hold political status and office and to accumulate wealth and to use it for good and to make Christianity great again. And I'm really drawn to that for some reason and really feel like that's the way that Christians ought to go about interacting with culture, is to be in a position of political power, economic prestige, or social influence. So Constantine is a great Christian.
That's amazing, Donald. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's great. Well, who's that?
Hey, it's Hillary Clinton.
Well, hello.
First Lady, Secretary of State,
Yes.
Senator from the great state of New York. Hillary, who's in your great cloud of witnesses?
So in my great cloud of witnesses, Chris, first may I say how much I admire your work, how much I just think that what Bethel is doing is amazing, and how much I look forward to talking with the young people of Minnesota when I visit this fall. So, yes. Once that's aside, though, in my great cloud of witnesses, I would like to add the influential figure of Mary Wollstonecraft. Are you familiar with her, Chris? Let me tell you a little bit about her. Oh. So Mary Wollstonecraft is an influential English writer from the 18th century. And Mary Wollstonecraft was an advocate for women's rights to be able to exercise their intellectual vigor and to have the right to be able to be educated equally as men are in order to contribute to a thriving society. And don't we all want a thriving society, Chris? Don't we all want equality, Chris?
Yeah.
Don't we all want fairness, Chris? Indeed.
Speaking of, Bernie Sanders had... Wait, what?
No. One thing that concerns me, though I like Bernie Sanders, one thing that concerns me is sometimes the absence of rationale, Chris. Would you agree?
Yes.
And that in order to be a leader, somebody who is going to be looked up to by both the youth as well as the elderly within this nation, you need to be able to have reason and rationale. And I would like to point out that Mary Wollstonecraft made an argument in the 18th century proving that not only do women have rationale, but that if they would be allowed to exercise it, and that this has been the problem, that women have been held back, that they have been made to essentially just be engaging in slavish obedience to the will of men, and that as a result, men often have been critical of women for not being able to make sound decisions, and that women are prone to too much emotion. But I would argue that if you give women, and I'm saying here what Mary Wollstonecraft would say, if you give women the right to education and to equal opportunity, they will in fact be able to function well in society, and that we will have a more fair and balanced society because we have given equal rights to them.
It's a powerful argument.
It is.
I can't contest
I look
it.
forward to your vote.
Okay. Amy, who am I?
Oh, well, hello, President Barnes.
Another kind of president.
I was just hard at work in my office.
I am here to announce my independent candidacy. Wait, no.
No,
I probably
wait,
shouldn't do
no.
that.
President Barnes, you have a very important job here as president of Bethel University.
You're right, I'm very busy. So, who is in my cloud of witnesses? Well, when I first became president of Bethel University, I said that I'm an evangelical, which means that I'm part of a tradition that goes back to the Great Awakenings of the 18th and 19th century. I believe you'll learn about them later this summer. But I'm especially an evangelical influenced by two other movements. One, the Anabaptists, who are a 16th century group who believe...
Are those people who are anti-Baptist?
They believe in believer's baptism,
Okay.
not infant baptism. But I'm really convicted by their witness, that they were people who were willing to be on the margins of society, who did not treasure political power or military might, but wanted to be authentic disciples of Jesus Christ. And I've really been shaped by that. But I'm also really influenced by a group called the Pietists. And people like Philip Spener and Johanna Peterson, you'll read about later in this course, who are 17th and 18th century renewal movement in Protestantism. And I'm especially struck by their commitment to church unity and to what we at Bethel like to call the Irenic spirit of trying to live peaceably with one another, even where Christians disagree. And I try to model that Irenic spirit in my role as president and as a member of this community.
Wow, that was really well said. Thank you, Dr. Barnes. It was a pleasure to see you.
Thank you. I'm going to the beach.
Oh, great.
Amy, you are... Whoa, it's like looking in a
Well,
mirror.
hello.
What is that handsome face?
I just got a haircut.
I think I need one. Here.
Yes, yes. So I am Chris Gehrz, chair of the history department.
For another month.
Yes, for another month. And I also, you can read my blog at thepietistschoolman.com. .com. Yes. And I have many people in my great cloud of witnesses, but one of them, and I would say a CWC fan favorite, is Desiderius Erasmus. So Erasmus is a thinker and what we refer to as a Christian humanist, and we will explore the definition of humanism, which sometimes isn't properly understood. A Christian humanist thinker in the 16th into the 17th century. Did I get that? No.
15th and 16th.
Oh, man. I wish my parents had just kept me all there in the same century. Anyways, but why I value Erasmus is because of the fact that Erasmus, who is extremely well educated in his faith, but also makes the argument that we have much to learn from taking a look at secular sources, that there's nothing to be afraid of if we are guided by the Spirit in our pursuit of knowledge. And if we have if we operate from the framework that all truth is God's truth, that then we can look to secular study to help us sharpen our understanding of the ways in which God has made the world. And so I know that one of the reasons that I like Erasmus is because Erasmus talks about these two weapons of the Christian warrior. And I spend a lot of my time teaching about war. And so I teach about weapons. But these two weapons that Erasmus articulates are a little bit different than what would be normal. Erasmus says that the two weapons that every Christian needs to take up arms with is Scripture and knowledge. So we start with Scripture. Prayer and knowledge. Prayer and knowledge. And so we arm ourselves with prayer, and that we take that as a diligent responsibility, a fervent, heartfelt prayer, and that prayer helps to guide us to be able to engage in educational pursuit, and that we don't need to be afraid of secular authors because they are going to sharpen, ultimately, what it is that we know and how we learn about God. And at the same time, I like Erasmus because of how he's going to engage Luther. And it's really interesting, and students really enjoy learning about Martin Luther and the important heritage that he's established. But at the same time, we need to look at other authors who are also sort of challenging or also shaping the outcome that Luther is going to design.
I couldn't have said that better myself.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I really need new glasses.
I'm going to go read up on my dates.
All right, Amy, who am I?
Oh,
Surprise!
Well, hello.
Wow.
You need to get your highlights done.
So, who is in my great cloud of witnesses? Well, I have a really interesting religious upbringing.
Yeah.
It's taken me to many different Christian traditions, from Seventh-day Adventism to Baptist churches. But I now find myself worshiping with Methodists, and I've really found a home in the Methodist church, the Methodist tradition. And so I think I've got to talk about John Wesley, who didn't really set out to found a distinct church. He was part of the Church of England in the 18th century, but his followers followed his methods for church renewal and became a really important church, especially in American history in the 18th, 19th, and into the 20th century. And I'm really drawn to Wesley, and even apart from my church, I'm struck by For example, what's called his quadrilateral, in which he's a Protestant, he's an heir to the Reformation, he believes in the authority of Scripture, but he also says there's not just that one source, there are three other sources that we can draw on reason. He's living in a time of scientific revolution and enlightenment, and he's engaging those debates, and he's educated at Oxford, and so he says we don't have to be afraid of reason. We can value Scripture, but also have reason alongside it. He also, though, believes in tradition. Even though he's a Protestant and the Protestants of the Reformation have broken with tradition, Wesley really has a high regard, especially for the early church, and he's willing to learn from different Christian traditions, and so he thinks that we don't just live in the present and the future, we're part of a longer story, and that fits well with CWC. But he also values experience, and a lot of the early Methodists really like sharing their testimony, their stories of conversion and sanctification. His own story is really powerful, right? That his heart is strangely warmed, and that those experiences mediate how we read Scripture alongside the others. So that quadrilateral is really powerful. But I think mostly I just really appreciate his kind of practical commitment to living out faith well in this world. And I just heard a sermon series about his preaching on wealth and on vocation. It's very timely, and so I'm very drawn to John Wesley and wish we said more about him in CWC.
I love hearing you talk about John Wesley.
So that's how we play Heads on Sticks. We'll have other games as the summer goes on. Welcome back. Before we go, we have a few happies to say. First of all, happy birthday to the National Basketball Association, founded 70 years ago today, and by today I mean June 6th when we're recording this. NBA was founded 70 years ago today by professional hockey owners looking to fill their arenas on off nights. Sam, as we record this webisode, this year's version of the NBA Finals is underway. The Golden State Warriors lead the Cleveland Cavaliers 2-0 with the series headed back to Cleveland. Do you want to go out on a limb and make a prediction that we will know the result of by the time this course actually starts?
I still feel like Cleveland's going to win a game. I wanted it to be more. Cleveland's going to win a game, but I'm going to say the Warriors in 5. I will say, though, I was a huge NBA fan in the 90s, back before some of our students were aware that they were alive. And then I sort of fell out of love with the NBA. This year has brought it all back. The Warriors Thunder series brought it all back for me.
That's pretty great.
Chris, happy anniversary. D-Day, 2 days before the NBA was...
2 years.
Excuse me, 2 years before the NBA was founded. Allied forces hit the beaches at Normandy. Chris, you just finished teaching a course on World War II.
History 231.
Besides Saving Private Ryan and Band of Brothers, what World War II movie or show should people check out?
So I'll go a little obscure here and recommend a French film from 1969 called Army of Shadows. So it's a really taut thriller about the resistance movement, and it wasn't even available in this country for a long time. It was very criticized, and then they re-released it maybe 10, 12 years ago. So I show a clip of kind of the climactic outcome of the movie in the class, but I just think it's a different side of the war. I mean, one of the things Americans are spared is living under occupation, and so it's a way to help our students understand some of the moral complexity of the war. I also like The Guns of Navarone, which is just a good World War II.
I was going to say, you lost me at French, but you got me back at film, so, that's not so bad.
Okay, and finally, happy trails to the 2015-16 academic year. We've been off now for about a couple weeks. Sam, any final parting shots, things you're looking back on?
I don't even remember last year. It's all about summer now, Chris.
Well, I remember one thing from last year. Can we cue the tape to about 11 months ago? This was July 21st, as we did this very segment. I said happy trails to something.
Roll the tape.
Happy trails to maybe Donald Trump's 2016 presidential hopes. Of course, Mr. Trump insulted Republican Senator John McCain, the highly decorated Vietnam War POW, saying, quote, "I like people who weren't captured." And then on Sunday, refused to apologize and kind of doubled down on the insult. Sam, I think the field just got slightly less crowded. So yes, July 21st of last year, Donald Trump had just insulted John McCain, and I actually went on and said, happy trails to the Trump candidacy. And so I just wanted to cop to that and say, who knew that you could apparently insult John McCain for being a coward during the Vietnam War, and you would get the nomination of the Republican Party and John McCain's endorsement not too long ago. So I will cease making political prophecies on this show. That's my pledge to you right here, right now.
All right.
We'll play that tape next year.
All right, what do we need to remind them of, Chris?
Okay, so first of all, read your syllabus, read the study guide, read the schedule. We're putting these things all up well in advance so that you can familiarize yourself with how the course is going to work. Note that you do have a short quiz on Moodle. You can retake that quiz as often as you want up through 11:59 p.m. Central Daylight Time on June 22nd, the first day of the class. So, I mean, we want you to get 10 out of 10, but what we really want to make sure is that you understand how the course is going to work, what we expect of the course, and a few things just to highlight here that have come up earlier. We know people travel during the summer. It's still your responsibility to get things done on time. So you've got to make sure that you're either going to work ahead a little bit or that you've got internet connections where you can go to. But you can't come back to us and say, hey, sorry, I was gone for a week, or I'm going to be on a missions trip for a week. Can I just do these when I get back? It's your responsibility. And if that's not going to work, you need to rethink doing a summer online course. Second thing, if you do have accommodations, we've got procedures set up for that with the Disability Resource Service Office, but it's your responsibility to do that ahead of time. So it's one reason we do this all well in advance. But I think our baseline is that if you're going to request an accommodation, say for the exams, you need to do it at least 3 days in advance. So don't come to us like the day before saying, hey, by the way, I think I got this accommodation. It's your responsibility to get that done. And then finally, the other thing that's due by 11:59 p.m. on the 22nd, and normally that's not the deadline, normally it's 10 o'clock, but is the discussion board response that Sam and Amy talked about in the first segment. So again, who are you? Just tell us a little bit about yourself, why you're taking the course now, and then do a little reflection on what's your experience with online courses? Maybe you have none, maybe you have some. What are you worried about? What are you looking forward to about this format? And it helps us, I think, better understand where you're coming from as you take the class. Anything else we should remind people of?
That sums it up.
Another happy birthday to Sarah Shady. This is actually the big birthday of June 6th. Why are we singing happy birthday to Sarah Shady?
You want to sing?
No, I said, why are we saying happy
why?
birthday?
I said, should we say? This is her 40th birthday.
It is her 40th birthday. I don't know why we highlighted that necessarily.
Because she's one of our favorite teachers, and you will see her in the course.
You will see her a lot. She's one of the figures who's going to show up in a lot of the documentary films and maybe some of the museums as well. So you will get to know Sarah Shady and why we think so highly of her before too long in this course. So happy birthday to Sarah. I think that's it. Otherwise, just send us your questions, your thoughts. We do like to respond to, I guess, viewer email as we go along. And so we'll try to prompt this occasionally as we do segments, or we might have some games that we'll do. But if you have anything you want us to talk about, let us know. We'll put it into the next webisode, which I think comes up maybe June 27th or so. All right. So say goodnight, Canada?
Sure.
I forgot how we sign off from these webisodes, so I'll leave that up.